So Phil, there are numerous ways that businesses can improve their success factors when preparing grant applications. As someone who has extensive experience in administering and reviewing these grants, both the good and the bad, I've prepared some questions so that you might be able to share some of your valuable insights. So one of the questions we often get asked is, how long will it take for a grant to be approved?
Alison, each of the grants have different timeframes. These timeframes are identified in the grant guidelines. As an example, a CDIC grant is batched and assessed every 8 to 12 weeks, while a capability improvement grant, we have a turnaround of 15 working days.
And is a CDIC advisory service report or any other input from the CDIC required before a grant application can be submitted?
Only for the capability improvement grant. It is a prerequisite for that grant for the applicant to have received an advisory service from CDIC. All the other grants are what we call standalone grants. You can apply for them without having any service from CDIC or anyone else for that matter.
And I previously mentioned that businesses need to understand what the grant program is, which grant program is most suitable or fits with their business need. What further advice can you provide to our audience on how they can ensure greater grant application success? Let's start with the capability improvement grant.
Well, the capability improvement grant, the important thing there is to ensure that the project that you're applying for in your application aligns with a recommendation from the advisory service report, and that the quote that you provide provides sufficient detail for us to make our assessment of value for money and for us to understand what the project is.
Yeah. And for what tips can you provide on the Sovereign Industrial Capability Priority Grant or the CDIC grant?
CDIC, well, for all grants, I would say you really do need to sort of answer the question. So there's 3 merit assessment criteria that also have a number of dot points in them. You really need to address each of the dot points in your application to ensure we have sufficient information. With regards to the CDIC grant, the most important criteria is criteria number 1, and it's really important that you demonstrate how your project will enhance the sovereign capability, because that's the key factor for that grant.
And how likely is it that a startup company, for example, can succeed in obtaining a Sovereign Industrial Capability Priority Grant if they have no track record?
Yep, that's fine if you're a startup. That would come under merit criteria 2. And as long as the business meets all eligible criteria, then being a startup doesn't preclude them from applying. Under merit criteria 2, your capacity, capability and resources to deliver the project would be where a startup would have to demonstrate their track record. Now, if they were a startup, they could demonstrate that by the experience and capability of their staff who have had working on the project rather than how long the business has existed, and that would be the crucial factor.
Good. And what about the Defence Global Competitiveness Grant? What are the key reminders for businesses preparing a grant submission for this particular area?
Yeah, for this one, the key is that the purpose of the grant is to remove a barrier and have an export opportunity. So the application has to demonstrate what that barrier is and how it will be successfully removed, and then clearly link it to an export opportunity.
Are there any further tips or examples you can provide that will help businesses understand the grant application process?
I guess answer all the questions is the most important thing. Read the guidelines. The guidelines provide details of what information and the purpose of the grants to ensure your project aligns with that. The guidelines also provide timelines of expected time to do the assessing of the applications. So my tip would be to read the guidelines, answer all the questions, and if in doubt, contact CDIC because we're more than happy to help with providing information on it.
And yes, and remember that we do have facilitators located around Australia, so there is somebody local to you that can support you. One final question, Phil, is the business application. If the business is unsuccessful in their application, can they apply again?
Most definitely. In fact, that's quite common, and we would encourage any unsuccessful applicant to seek feedback on why they were unsuccessful, and then if they're able to make the necessary changes, reapply. And we have many examples of companies that have missed out on their first time through, but were successful the second time by addressing the feedback that was provided by the assessment panels.
Thank you, Phil, and I'm sure that our viewers will find this information really useful. And if you take away little else from today, remember that the CDIC is here to help you. Whether you want to contribute to the Joint Strike Fighter program, naval shipbuilding, or the land combat vehicles, to name just a few, we want to help you get the grants that you need to support your business and to support defence. So go online, call us on 13 28 46, or email cdic@business.gov.au to get started. You can also web chat with one of our agents if you prefer. Thank you for joining us for this presentation, and I wish you every success in your defence journey.